Good afternoon, Vivek sir. We welcome you. We'll be starting the event shortly. We are waiting for the other panelists to join. Sir, your mic is on mute.
Yes, now it's fine. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Ankit, I believe my slides have reached you. And they are with Shishira. Can you confirm that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have got it.
So I will speak with the slides.
Sure, sir. No problem. We will begin with our event shortly. Meanwhile, we request you to switch on your video and please keep your mics on mute. And in case you have any queries, kindly put them in the chat box. We will also be going live on YouTube, so other members of the club can watch our event on the YouTube channel. Thank you. Good afternoon, Ritesh sir. We welcome you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody.
We will begin with our event shortly. Meanwhile, we request you to switch on your videos and please keep your mics on mute. And in case if you have any queries, kindly put them in the chat box. We will also be going live on YouTube, so other members of the club can watch our event on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you.
Good evening, Anita ma'am. Thank you for being here.
Sorry, good evening. When are you guys starting?
We'll start soon, ma'am. We'll start soon.
Okay.
We're just waiting for two of our guests to arrive. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay, thank you. Once the guests arrive, you can record the sessions, okay? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Will do. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start with our event shortly. We are waiting for our panelists to join. We are also live on YouTube, so other club members can watch us on YouTube as well. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Debashish. Sir, thank you for joining us.
With due respects to everybody, may I make a statement, please?
Yes, sir, please.
You see, you have to be very clear. You have an audience, you have people who have come on time. For people who have not come on time, I think you are penalizing the entire audience and the people who have come on time. Is that fair?
No, sir, we're handling. Yes, sir. We'll start soon.
We are wasting time, and Mr. Tiwari is there, I am here, and other panelists are here. And we can't just be waiting for, they are not God. The audience is it fair?
Of course not, sir. We're starting soon. Yes. Just a moment.
The theme for our e-week is Industry 4.2, and today's topic is intelligent connectivity on 5G, artificial intelligence, big data, and IoT. We are live on YouTube, so other members of the club can watch our event on YouTube channel. This event is sponsored by our title sponsor, Learning by Traveling, co-sponsored by Sun, Innovogen, Avionics, and co-living partner, Tikana.
Pratika, you are on mute.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, let's begin. As Robert Schuller once said, tough times never last, but tough people do. Let's not see this pandemic as a constraint, but as an opportunity to explore a whole new world, the virtual world.
And don't you worry about being successful, but work towards being significant, and the success will naturally follow.
Everyone is an entrepreneur. The only skills you need to be an entrepreneur is an ability to fail, an ability to have ideas, to sell those ideas, to execute those ideas, and to be persistent so that even if you fail, you learn and move on to the next adventure.
With that in mind, I'm Ankit Sharma.
And I am Pratika Shivkumar.
And on behalf of Maçon, the official entrepreneurship cell of IBS Hyderabad, would like to welcome our respected dignitaries, faculties, and everyone present here. We at Maçon provide a platform for all those who want to create their own paths and leave behind the trails of success. We organize guest lectures, business plan showcase, in-cube sessions, hackathon, and our flagship event, the E-Week.
E-Week is a week-long celebration of the entrepreneurial spirit and gala within each one of us. It is that time of the year when you get to interact with real-time entrepreneurs and embark upon our own entrepreneurial journeys. And to guide you with the same, this E-Week, we've called upon industry experts to give you a gist of future technologies and how they are implemented in Industry 4.0.
So, we are here to get you future ready. So, buckle up and get ready for an informative yet amazing journey. And we hope that you will be taking a lot of key learnings from this discussion. So, to begin with, we would like to introduce our panelists for the day. Mr. Debashish Chakraborty, who is the Group CEO of London Strategy and Consulting Group, popularly known as LSNCG, ex-fintech and strategy advisor at Big Three. He is a futurist, ex-Googler, gold medalist, and a university topper.
Our next panelist for the day is Mr. Vivek Sharma, who is the Managing Director of Panasonic Life Solutions India. He leads the consumer electricals business under two key brands, Panasonic and Anchor. Mr. Sharma brings with him a unique blend of business and brand development experience across FMCG, lighting, and consumer durable sector. Before joining Everstone, Mr. Sharma also was the president for Morphy Richards and SBU of Bajaj Electricals Limited, and he is also an effective coach, trainer, and public speaker.
Our next panelist is Mr. Prabhat Kumar Tiwari, the founder, CMD, and CEO of Your Own Room. He also has experience in PropTech and is a co-living evangelist and a Stanford GSB alumni. He has 25 years of experience in technology enterprises and startups. Prior to this, he was the Senior Vice President at Exchanging Managing. Apart from this, Mr. Prabhat is very passionate about advising and helping technology-based startups and SMEs build, restructure, and grow.
We welcome you, panelists. The moderator for the day is Dr. Ritesh Tiwari, who is the Assistant Professor at IBS Hyderabad. He has qualified NET and JRF and has a PhD in management. He has been involved in startup ecosystem and has a long-term vision, and also his interests include future-specific technologies and tools in which he is making a mark by imparting knowledge to his students. And we are highly privileged to welcome him to this panel discussion as a moderator. We welcome you, sir, and we now hand over the floor to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you, panelists, for being here and giving your valuable time. So it will be an open discussion between the panelist members. Of course, I will designate one panel member some specific times for the same. And if you wish to present something or impart any kind of knowledge pertaining to the team, to the students here, please feel free for that. After your, when we have those inputs from you, we will leave the floor open for questions, and participants or the audience, if they have any questions, you please put in the chat box, and we will take them after the discussions. If the panel members feel so, they can also take the questions in between as and when they seem fit. Right. So with the permission of the panel members, I would like to first invite to discuss his views, Mr. Vivek Sharma, sir. Sir, could you please enlighten us with your views on the topic? And thank you for taking the time. Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ritesh ji and panelists, a very good afternoon to all of you from here. It's a very sunny and a very, very warm day here in Mumbai. And I'm sure the weather and things are improving in Hyderabad too, right? So I am in very good company today. And I see that there are a lot of gold medalists and highly qualified academicians. Let me confess right at the beginning, I have never taught any university. I have never been a gold medalist. It's barely that I have been able to, get a first class right through my career. And so while I'm not exactly a duffer, but I'm not, a topper or a gold medalist. These are too highly qualified. So I will speak very basic layman's language, very simple terms. I will try to avoid jargon to the extent possible, and I will start from the basics because I am aware that a lot of the audience is not only students, but I was told there are some undergraduates too. So the topic that we have for today is intelligent connectivity. How the combination of 5G, AI, big data, and IoT is set to change everything. The title itself and the subject matter of today's discussion itself is highly exciting. And one can speak on and on about the way the world is going to change. The impact these three factors are going to have not only on our individual lives, but on the world and the planet in general. Having said that, let me start by expanding on intelligent connectivity. Intelligent connectivity is a concept which has been designed. It foresees the combination of 5G, the Internet of Things, and AI as a means to accelerate technological development and to enable new disruptive digital services and also products. In the intelligent connectivity vision that scientists have had, the digital information collected by the machines, devices, and sensors making up the Internet of Things is analyzed and contextualized by the AI technologies available to us and presented to users in a way that is more practical, more meaningful, and more applicable to their day-to-day lives. This both improves decision making for business people. It allows delivery of very differentiated experience to individuals, small homes, and customers. And it results in a richer, far more fulfilling interaction between people and the environment that surrounds us. So 5G, if you look at it, it represents the missing element. All of us who are used to 4G and find it such a drag on our day-to-day life, some of us forget that before 4G, the world has seen 1G, 2G, 3G, and you can imagine what they were. So 4G has been a paradigm shift from the earlier Gs, and 5G is going to change the entire way the world uses internet, data, etc. So 5G represents the missing element to bring these technologies to newer, higher levels and enable the vision of intelligent connectivity. The ultra-fast and the ultra-low latency connectivity that is provided by 5G networks, if you combine that with the huge amount of data which is collected by IoT and the contextualization and decision-making capabilities of AI technologies, you will appreciate that this will enable new capabilities which are totally transformational, and these will be in virtually every industry sector, in hospitality, in medicine, in business, in education, even in factors like defense services and border surveillance, right? So it will totally change the way each one of us lives, the way we work, the way we look at entertainment, and the way we enjoy our experiences and the world at large. Let me start by expanding a little on what is the Internet of Things. Internet of Things, or IoT, refers to billions of physical devices around the world, appliances, machines, etc., that are now connected to the internet. They are all collecting data, they are all sharing data, and thanks to the arrival of extremely cheap computer chips and the ubiquity of the wireless networks, it's now possible to turn anything from something as small as a pill to something as big as a drone or as an airplane, or even the SpaceX, which Elon Musk is talking about, into a part of the IoT network. Connecting up all these different objects, adding sensors to them, adds a level of digital intelligence to devices that would otherwise be dumb and stationary, and thereby enabling them to communicate real-time data without involving interfacing or human touch or human interaction. So if I was to give you an example of an IoT device, pretty much any physical object can be transformed into an IoT device if it can be connected to the internet to be controlled or communicate information. For example, if you are traveling in the summer heat from Somajiguda in Hyderabad to Jubilee Hills, temperature is 44 degrees centigrade. It's extremely hot, but in your car as you're moving towards home, the temperature is at a steady 24 degrees. And you would like that when you step into your house, the house should be welcoming, right? And should be at a similar 24 degrees. So you can, from your smartphone, sitting in the comfort of your car as you're driving home, make sure that as you enter your door, you click the lock open and you step into your living room, the temperature, thanks to the AC already being in operation, is at the same 24 degrees centigrade. This is just a simple example. Another example, if I was to give you, is a light bulb can be switched on using a smartphone app in an IoT device. As is a motion sensor or a smart thermostat in your office connected to a street light. So an IoT device could be as fluffy as a toy, a child's toy, a soft toy, or as serious as a autonomous vehicle. For example, a truck which is delivering goods from factory to warehouse without any driver. So these are all examples of IoT. Some larger objects may themselves be filled with many smaller components of IoT, such as a jet engine that's now filled with thousands of sensors collecting and transmitting data back to make sure that the entire operation is operating efficiently. If you were to go at an even bigger scale, smart city projects are filling up regions, not only in India, but also abroad, with sensors to help us understand and control the entire environment. The amount of effluent that is being released, the amount of pollution into the rivers, and how to control it, all this can also be managed by IoT devices. So the term IoT is mainly used for devices that wouldn't usually be generally expected to have an internet connection, and that can communicate with the nature independently of human action. For this reason, a PC isn't generally considered an IoT device, and neither is a smartphone. They are considered out of it. Even though the latter is crammed with sensors, our iPhone 12, if you look at it, or the similar phones which are available, they are crammed with sensors, but nevertheless, they are not considered an IoT device. A smartwatch or a fitness band or other wearable devices might be counted as IoT devices, however. And that's some consolation to those manufacturers. To go further, what is 5G? The 5G cellular networks being deployed today are evolving from the existing 4G networks. And this is being done in a phased manner across different countries at different variable speeds. So as we evolve from the existing 4G networks, which will continue to serve many useful cases, but we must appreciate that these are intended to last well into the future. And 5G can cater for current requirements such as smart energy applications, border surveillance, as well as anticipating cases that are still some way away. For example, autonomous cars and high-end electric vehicles that will drive without drivers. 5G provides a range of benefits to the IoT which are not practical with 4G or with other technologies currently operational. These include 5G's ability to support a massive number of static and mobile IoT devices, which have a diverse range of speed, of bandwidth, and a quality of service requirements. As the IoT evolves, the flexibility of 5G will add even more utility, and become even more significant for businesses and enterprises seeking support for the requirements of critical communication. The ultra reliability and low latency of 5G will allow self-driving cars, smart energy grids, enhanced factory automation, and other demanding applications to become reality. If you look at the environment around us, the number of IoT connection is set to surge multiple times over the next 5 years. The GSMA intelligence forecasts the total number of IoT connections will grow to 25.2 billion by the year 2025, which is just 5 years away. The intelligence report forecasts 3.1 billion of these will employ cellular technologies, including low power, wide area mobile IoT networks. IoT devices today use a wide variety of wireless technologies. These include short-range technologies, typically using unlicensed spectrum, such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, and the Z-Wave and wide area cellular technologies using licensed spectrum, such as GSM, LTE, and 5G. Let me now expand a bit on the ultra reliable low latency communication, that is URLLC. In the 5G era, right, the resilience will be key in utility. The mobile network is being explicitly asked to support ultra reliable and critical systems such as automatic control of industrial devices and autonomous self-driven vehicles. This is an important selling point for 5G and is reflected in the identification of URLLC as one of the key pillars of the 5G opportunity. So if you look at this slide, you will see that a driverless bus collecting children from school, picking them up and taking them home, giving an advance warning to parents about the exact time at which the bus would reach their destination, so that the parent or the caretaker is already at hand to receive the children and bring them back home. So this is just a small example of how using satellites, using 5G, using all of the available infrastructure, the life of our citizens will become far more simpler, far more safer, far more predictable. Can we move to the slide number 3, please? Yes. So the slide number 3 talks of home automation. Now, as you look at the modern home, the way the average human being is used to living, home automation makes life as if he's on a different planet. For example, locking of doors. For example, switching on ACs from remote control. For example, drawing curtains or blinds. For example, heating water at the time of your choice to the precise degree you would like to heat it for bathing or showering or etc. All of this is possible through smart home automation. Switching on televisions, recording particular programs, switching off TVs from remote location. All of this is part of what comforts home automation gives. There is independent control. Smart kitchen gadgets like mixer grinders can be operated without supervision. There is a greener world because sensors will allow us to save electricity, save energy, and light intensity will be monitored and controlled as required automatically. So wastage of energy, wastage of lights outside your house, all of that can be controlled automatically. So it will help us to pave the way for a greener world. these devices will all be self-diagnosing. So for example, if there is a problem today, we don't know. We have to ring up customer care. They come in a day or two, all of that. And customer care is not what we expect it to be. But with smart home automation, the devices can be self-diagnosing. They can communicate to the customer care what is wrong with them and what modules needs to be changed. Similarly, in the realms of entertainment and similarly in the realm of facial recognition. So for example, if the child is at home, the child can, using IoT and home automation, recognize the person who's coming in, and he will make sure that only the right person enters the home. So our lives, our homes will be safer and a lot more easier to live with, right? So smart home automation will be one of the benefits of this era. To return to, you can go to the next slide. To return to the details I was giving on 5G, resilience will be key in the 5G era. The mobile network is being explicitly asked to support ultra-reliable and critical systems such as automatic control of industrial devices and autonomous self-driven vehicles. This is an important selling point for 5G and is reflected in the identification of URLLC as one of the key pillars of the 5G opportunity. URLLC is critical for enterprise IoT use cases, and in the consumer sector for smart city and smart home application, it is going to be extremely helpful and of great utility. For example, smart cities could use URLLC IoT devices to manage traffic. Traffic that is chaotic today would be far more efficient. We could use this supporting tool to prevent congestion and warn of accidents which have happened further up the road and make roads decongested and simpler. In smart homes, URLLC capabilities will bring in a number of benefits supporting online gaming, audiovisual devices, and all of that. Faster response times and higher reliability will reduce transmission delays, providing a much more immersive experience to consumers. Low latency connectivity is important for machines that drive themselves, such as autonomous vehicles or such appliances that perform critical tasks like controlling industrial devices, which control effluents, which control energy, which control temperatures. Low latency will allow a 5G network to be optimized to effectively process huge volumes of changing data in absolute real time, a capability that 4G just does not have. And other technologies in certain parts of the world, they don't have the capability to deliver this level of experience. So to summarize, the reliability and low latency required for critical IoT will be best served with 5G technology supported by global standards. So the real essence of IoT, the real benefits will only come in a couple of years' time when 5G kicks in. So we have covered 5G, we have covered IoT. Let me come to the third part of the triad, and that is big data. Big data, as the name suggests, is larger, it is more complex, it is more coming in packets or sets, and it is especially from new data sources. These data sets or packets are so voluminous that traditional data processing software is just unable to match them and manage their utility. But these massive volumes of data can be used to address business problems that we are not able to tackle up to now, but which we would like to tackle further in the future. So we have covered all three elements of this very interesting triad. So just as the three parts of the triad, let me now share with you certain words I have used, which is the 5 V's of big data. So, for example, in big data, volume is of extreme significance. We have to process high volumes of low density, unstructured data. This can be data of unknown value, such as Twitter feeds. It could be click streams on a web page, or it could be on a mobile app or sensor-enabled equipment. For some organizations, this might be tens of terabytes of data. For others, it may be just hundreds of petabytes. So to each his own. But volume is definitely one of the important parts of big data. And going forward, we will all be able to benefit from this aspect of volume. The second important part is speed or velocity. Velocity is the fast rate at which the data is received and acted upon, analyzed, purified, and passed on. Normally, the highest velocity of data system streams directly into the memory as against being written onto the disk. Some internet-enabled smart products operate in real time or in very near real time, and they require real-time evaluation and action. And therefore, the velocity which they require is much higher, but the current 4G and certain parts 3G is not able to service that velocity and speed. And in India, we are not used to any high speed whatsoever. So one of the biggest countries to gain from the 5G as we go forward would be India. And each one of us who's used to the pathetically slow speed of our internet system and the entire IT as we see it. The third V in the picture is variety. Variety refers to the many types of data that are available to us. Traditional data types were structured and fit neatly into relational databases, RDBMSs. With the rise of big data, data comes in new unstructured data types. Unstructured and semi-structured data types such as text, audio, video, all of them require additional pre-processing. And only then can you derive the meaning and support the metadata that is to be put into use. So these are the three main V's in the big data world. Two more V's have emerged recently over the past few years. One is the value, and the second is veracity. Data, as we see it, has intrinsic value, but it's of no use until that value is discovered and used by the consumer. Equally importantly, how truthful or how pure is your data, and how much is it reliable? How far can you rely on it? Today, if you see it, big data has become capital. Think of some of the world's biggest tech companies, some of whom are in India. A large part of the value they offer comes from the data they have, which they are constantly analyzing, upgrading to produce more efficiency and service and develop new products of use. If you see the recent technological breakthroughs that have exponentially reduced the cost of data storage and computing and made it easier and less expensive to store more data than ever before, we will see how utilitarian things are becoming. With an increased volume of big data now that is available, and it is cheaper and more accessible, as consumers, we can be more accurate and precise on taking our business decisions. So this is how the 5 V's impact our working or how we perceive data in the big data. What now is artificial intelligence or AI? It's a very commonly used word, and everybody talks about it and everybody is expected to know it. While we are using it very commonly, but not all of us have understood it in very simple terms. So artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that have been programmed to think absolutely just like humans and to a large extent mimic their actions. For example, you see robots dispensing food products in malls. You see robots delivering medicines to patients in COVID hospitals. All of these are examples of this. The term may also be applied to any machine that exhibits traits associated with a human mind, such as learning and, for instance, problem solving. The ideal characteristics of artificial intelligence is its ability to rationalize and take actions that have the best chance of achieving a specific goal. The applications of AI are absolutely endless, and it's extremely gratifying to note that the speed with which AI acceptance, adaptability, and adoption are going up, and these are quite about endless. And the sky is not the limit for putting AI to use. The AI technology can be applied to many different sectors and industries. AI is being tested and used in the healthcare industry for dosing drugs, what quantity to take, how much to take, and in what concentration. It is also being used for different treatments in patients and for surgical procedures in the operation theaters. Other examples of machines with artificial intelligence include computers that play chess, self-driving cars, and so on and so forth, some of which I have covered earlier. Each of these machines must weigh the consequences of any action they take, as each action will impact the end result. In chess, the end result is winning the game. For self-driving cars, the computer system must account for external data and compute it to act in a way that prevents collisions and accidents. And if it doesn't, it can cause death, right? Artificial intelligence also has application in the financial industry, where it is used to detect and flag, safety factors and activities in banking and finance, such as an unusual debit card usage and large deposit of accounts in certain bank accounts. And all of these can help a bank to detect fraud. Application for AI are also being used to help streamline and make trading easier. This is done by making supply, demand, and pricing of shares and securities easier to estimate, right? So we have covered the application of most of the three parts of the equation. We have also covered home automation in utility, and how home automation and a greener world will be supportive of the survival of the planet going forward, right? So let us now talk of the smart power grid, right? The smart power grid, which you see on slide number 4, refers to the electricity grid, a network of transmission lines, substations, and transformers that deliver electricity for the consumer from the power plant to our homes and businesses. What is it that makes a grid smart? In short, the digital technology that allows for a two-way communication between utility and its customers and the sensing along the transmission lines is what makes the grid smart. Like the internet, the smart grid will consist of controls, computers, automation equipment, and new technologies and equipment working together. And these technologies will work with the electrical grid to respond digitally to our quickly changing electric demand. You may all be surprised that in our country, we have something called as T&D. T&D is referred to by electricity companies as transmission and distribution losses. Now, in actual terms in our country, if you go to states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Orissa, and certain parts of the north, you will see that electricity is being stolen. So in real terms, the T&D is not transmission and distribution losses, but it is theft and dacoity. People are stealing power. So a smart grid will be able to use smart metering. And smart metering will ensure that not only can you control metering, reading of meters, switching off and switching on from remote, but you can also detect pilferage, leakage, so that the T&D losses, which in India are as high as 35%, are reduced to the world norm, which is 2 to 5%. So this one single factor will help us save over the next 5 years almost 30% of power cost in the value chain. So you can imagine that all the distribution boards, Tata Power, and all of the distribution discoms, they will suddenly become profitable. From today's scenario where virtually all of them are as close to shutdown as they have ever been. And it's just the government pressure that is keeping them alive. So smart metering in the smart grid will help India to save almost 30% of value in the power chain. The benefits associated with the smart grid will include a more efficient transmission of electricity, quicker restoration of power, lesser disturbances and drop downs, reduced operations and management costs for utilities, and ultimately lower power costs for consumers. By managing demand over the entire day, the peak demand itself will be reduced, which will help lower electricity rates. Another benefit would be increased integration of large-scale renewable energy systems. For example, today, if you look at wind power and solar power, hydropower and thermal power, in most parts of our country, the integration is not possible. And therefore, there is a lot of confusion, there is a loss of power, and we are not able to leverage the strength of our renewables and take it to the beneficial logical stage at the end. So, if we are able to do that, in the decade of 2020 to 2030, India has committed that as a part of the world community to support the facilitation of climate change objectives, we will reduce the percentage of renewable energy, we will increase the percentage of renewable energy by 30%. So better integration will help us achieve those objectives faster. Another factor, as I already mentioned, is improved security. Today, an electricity disruption, for example, if you see a fortnight ago, there was a disruption of power in Mumbai, the first time in the last 14 months. But it caused huge disruption. There was a blackout and there was no power. All multi-floor and high-rise buildings, they had no lifts. And the entire city was as if it was under siege. And it has a domino effect. A series of failure that happened that day affected banking, communication, traffic, and security. And it was a very chaotic day for all of us.
Sir, we request you to, we request you to, sir, if you could, speed it up and possibly conclude in about a couple of minutes, so we get other speakers at some time.
Okay, I have three more minutes.
Sure,
so
sir.
This is the second last slide that I am
on.
The next is the last.
Thank you, sir.
That is okay?
Sure, sir. 3 minutes is fine, sir.
So, an electricity disruption such as a blackout, as I said, can have a domino effect. And the smart grid will therefore prevent any such exigency from happening in most of the large cities across the world and in our own country for that matter. So, let us now go to the last slide. Now, if you look at public security and safety, you see, video surveillance on the border has been something which has been bandied about by all governments, but nobody has gotten into this very important part of the border surveillance activity. And every month we hear of cases of Pakistan pushing in terrorists. So if we use these devices, which are either installed or worn on the border security personnel, and we use night vision devices to help avoid any, pushing in of terrorists by the aggressive neighbor on our western borders, that is another benefit that the new technologies can have. So intelligent connectivity has the potential also not only to make our borders safe, but also to make cities safer and help governing bodies to make cities more enjoyable, more safe, more orderly. And also, if you look at the video surveillance systems, the 5G networks will facilitate the deployment of a large number of security alarms, sensors and cameras, and enable the transmission of real-time, high-quality videos for enhancing remote surveillance and better assessment of crime. For example, police by facial recognition can make out whether a person is emotionally disturbed or is aggressive, and they can program these input to predict not only crime, but also preventive action. Similarly, if you look at emergency services and border controls, I've already touched on that. Massive amounts of 5G connected cameras, either fixed, mounted, or on moving vehicles like trucks, which are on the border areas, border guards wearing them, or in cases of extreme exigencies, these could be installed on drones. And this will help control and coordinate emergency service operations and thereby make the border far less porous than it currently is. Remotely controlled autonomous robots will replace humans for operation in such hazardous environments. And even in areas like you recently saw earlier this week, there was an earthquake in Turkey. So when you're looking for survivors and such dangerous situation, burnt out buildings, etc., we can use robots to save people. And drones can be used to survey areas hit by disasters and to patrol coastlines in case of tsunamis and cyclones. And in mountainous areas and in border areas where smugglers today are not only smuggling heroin and gold and other things, all such unwanted situations can be avoided by use of this triad of technologies. So there is a huge world that awaits us. There are a lot of possibilities. As I said, the sky is not the limit. It's up to our ingenuity, our need, and our hunger that we can use this technology. But unlike past technologies, these technologies are safe for a future world. And they will benefit the human beings and the planet by fostering and facilitating a better world through control of climate change and saving of precious electricity and other such critical parameters. On that note, Tiwari-ji, I would like to conclude because we are short of time.
Sure, sir.
So thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for that, basic grounding in the basic concepts that were for the team, and then some very useful use cases, especially smart home automation, the smart power grid, and public safety and security concerns. So I thank you for that, and especially the basic grounding. Now that we have a very good understanding of the basic technologies and how they work and some use cases, let's take this discussion forward to some important areas of concern and debate and discuss those aspects as well. I invite first Mr. Devashish Chakraborty, sir, to answer that, followed by Mr. Prabhat Tiwari, sir, to respond to these questions. One of the aspects that we'll talk about with respect to this intelligent connectivity is that it will give future players a lot of power. And could be like for example, Amazon, they will have data from their home systems, smart devices, appliances, cloud services. What it happens is it might give one specific company or few specific companies a lot of power. They would control a large part of the ecosystem. So how does the going into the future? How can this be done, really? And we know that they do not necessarily use the data that they have in the right spirit. So what can be done about it? How does that impact this whole evolution of intelligent connectivity? Right. So Devaji, sir, first you can go ahead, and Professor, you can follow up after that. Thank you.
There are a lot of background noises. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think I have a deck. Is it that I need to first go through the deck, or
So, please
I
go
had a
ahead.
I have a presentation. I'm not sure whether the presentation has been. I sent the presentations. Can you go through the presentations and then we can take the questions, or what exactly you? Okay. So I will go through. I will not go that brief. Actually, I think the sir has already spoken a lot about the AI, IoT, and the technological spectrum that can change into the 5G. So I'm not going to take that long, but I'll be more focusing on the business aspect, right? So. Uh, thanks giving me opportunity to talk to the Pioneers Institute LBS and highly talented students from the LBS to talk about the emerging technologies and also the IoT, how the 5G will change the entire ecosystem. So I am Debasis, the CEO of LSCG, and also, can you go to the next slide, please? Right. So I'm the CEO of the London Strategic and Consulting Group, and also I am a founder of Lean Venture, which is London-based, the fintech and the fintech and RegTech entrepreneur community. And also I'm the founder of Levy Venture, which is a venture capitalist in London. I've worked with Big Three, come from the Big Three background, and also worked with the technological giants, IBM, Google, and EMC Dell. That's my background. Last 2 decades, I've been working with number of banking clients, the biggest banks in UK, Europe, and also in the Scandinavia, starting from London Banking Group, RBS, Nationwide, HSBC, and so on, right? And I also work number of telco players. I was in Seattle and worked for AT&T in year 2002, 10 to 8 to 10. I was in the Seattle for AT&T, and then I worked for Vodafone UK and also Ericsson Dutch, right? So I have a background of the telco domain also. I think the 5G will be really changed massively, both into the using the enablement of the telco into the finance, manufacturing, and retail sector. We will go through the number of use cases, and I will say how it will change the entire ecosystem of the industry. Can you go to the next slide, please? Right. So, the last 2 decades, right? So the speed of the internet has been changed massively from the, 54 Mbps to 10 to 12 Gbps, right? That kind of change has been done since 1999 to, if you compare 2019. So I will give you some of the financial outlook, how the 5G will change the financial numbers. So we have done some kind of research, along with we have done some data for the Qualcomm research, and it shows that the 9.3 trillion that could support the enterprise ventures such as retail, human services, training and transformations, right, by 2035. So that much huge opportunity in the market, and the income of 2.65 trillion will be increased by 2035 from now. So in next 15 years, we can expect using the 5G, IoT, and other technological aspects. So the income can rise by the market income by the 2.65 trillion. And also the extra job, there is a huge pressure to create job into the market, and everybody is looking for a job, right? So where the jobs will come, right? The COVID and other pandemic has created a lot of pressures to the young generation, and they are looking for the real quality of job. But the good news is that this 5G and enablement of the technological aspect expected to create a 20 million extra job into the market by 2035, right? And if you see from a GDP perspective, right, so 2.27 trillion GDP developments in total expected from now to 2035. So this is a really, really very positive number if you think about what is 5G, how the 5G will change the financial ecosystem, right? So this is very positive note. Let's see some of the next slide. We can see some of the market outlook, right? So if you see, we have done some kind of research with the PBS research, and we have some numbers here, right? So 95% expect that new items of an administrative that can seem to be created. So there is a huge opportunity to create new digital ecosystem, new asset. And I think this the 5G will create a lot of things that people don't have access right now. Online training, online banking, real time, talking to their agent for SME banking, SME lending, loans, right? Talking to patients, right? Doctor talking to patients in real time. If you see in the hospital, doctor checking the patients in the remote area, or if you consider into the defense, right? So, as rightly mentions, we can monitor the each and every activities of the terrorists, right? And we can use drones to go to in the remote area, some of the critical area, to to attack and give the right kind of response to the terrorists, right? So those kind of things will be definitely change. And 87%, right? So the ventures should be developed. So there is an opportunity that 85% new ventures will be anticipated to create using the new technological enablement, right? Similarly, we have done some kind of other research which says that 82% of anticipated the independent ventures developments, will be increased, and there will be, competition in the market because everybody will be having access of data, internet, connectivity of devices. So speed up, light, speed up, the change of the financial stability, and also it will increase the competition and into the market. And 85% we anticipated the organization will be more serious to deliver and more innovate and more speed, to demand the market what business is looking for. And 89% people predicted that the expand will be effectively efficient, right? The market expand, the business expand, and data accessibility of data, that's quite important, and security all will be more efficient using the 5G, and the technology enablement. If you go to the next slide, please. So the next thing is that how we are going to use and where we are going to use this 5G, right? So the 5G and could be used into enhance mobile broadband, to use the mobile, because if you see in the India or some of the underdevelopment or developing countries, the 5G network, the network speed is very poor. We into LSCG, we have a lot of associate who are from the India and remote, and we have faced huge problem of connectivity while we have a video conference and other aspect, right? So I think which always we get a poor quality of connections, poor quality of network, and which is reducing the efficiency of work, productivity, and also the way we want to deliver into the business, right? So so coming from that, right? So I think the enhanced mobile broadband, data available and speed available anywhere, anytime, through the any device, right? So smart device will be really change the entire economical ball game. So then massive mobile type communications and also the ultra reliable low latency communications, those are some of the aspects that we can use by the using of the 5G network, and also the using of this, we can really implement the virtual reality, artificial, augmentation reality, with the back infrastructure that will be required, because we talk about a lot of AR and VR, connecting to the office, office manager, banking manager to the agent or customer in the real time to solve their problem rather than going to a physical bank, right? We mostly deal into the finance, so we understand how it will change the entire financial sector, going, reducing the cost, by physical banks. Then we can do a lot of digital banks, it can be easy, it can be more user friendly, reducing the cost, improve the NPS, which is net promoter score, that the business and CXOs are looking for. And I believe that 5G can also help to improve the NPS, reducing the headcount cost, improve the operational efficiency, and all the aspect, not only just the technological aspect, but more focused sustainability of the business. Can you go to the next slide? Right. Some of the key use case, as Brian Halicton clearly says, the innovations, imagine that future and the fill in the gaps, right? So, there were a lot of things that can be changed, that can be improved. And I think the 5G can definitely, improve the gaps right now into the industry, in the technological gaps, as well as the, enhancement that is required to innovation. We think about a lot of things to be done by innovations, but if the technology and underlying, the infrastructure is not ready, it's really difficult to think that innovation into the reality. Mobile banking or real-time voting, right? Real-time balance check, right? When the poor mobile connectivity and you want to use the P2P payment, right? The P2P payment, we have to transfer the money within 30 minutes. And if you see that in the remote area where network connectivity is not there, in the traveling that, so the P2P payment will, it become a theory, but not practically can be implemented, right? By using this 5G, we can implement and really work those kind of innovation that we think about, P2P payment or B2B real-time got settlements. Or if you think about what we are building, the product called behavioral biometrics, using the artificial intelligence, machine learning and deep learning. So what we're doing that, we're adding the extra level of the security in the card and card and payment and also e-commerce payment, right? So those kind of things using the facial recognitions or keyboard spreading or network latency, those kind of things is practically not that kind of feasible unless we have a strong network connections like a 5G. And I think the 5G will bring those things, technological things to become a reality into the industry. So other aspect is that it interacts the human to IoT, as Sir already mentioned, that we can use drone, we can use the robot, we can use the sensors, right? And we can control our rooms. Let's say I'm going to my from my office to coming to home, and I know it's been cold and freezing, so I need to make temperature in control, so I can remotely control that, and I want to see what my kids are doing in the studying or something like that, or playing, or they are doing the right things or not, or they are watching something into this into the social media things area, right? So in that, using the IoT, we can connect to devices and can we monitor our home, our kids from the remote places, right? That will make the life easy, comfortable, and based due to the COVID, right? Most of the things are working from home, and a lot of things are working in the remotely. So huge demand of that remote connections and on demand and real time, right? Without the 5G kind of connectivity, I think it's not been so effective that most of the industry, banks, retail, manufacturers are looking for, and that's huge cost, huge service disruptions, huge the NPS issues, which is the customer satisfactions, promoter rate, promoter score, right? All those aspects we need to consider that, and I think 5G will bring and improve those kind of numbers. Then we also can you go back the slide? Also, we can use the media and broadband experience anytime, anywhere, right? Real-time YouTube and on-demand, on-demand, contents, right? Then we can critical control remote devices, as well as I've already mentioned that smart device, my vehicle infrastructure. We can. This is the typical use case that can be covered using the IoT, and also using the 5G and other technological aspect. Can you move to the next slide, please? Right. So let's talk about some of the value propositions, right? So the value propositions is highly profitable. The business which is lacking due to the poor connectivity, and efficiency, and you can't use the smart technology that can really make profitable those business to more productive, more customer satisfaction, adding more customer satisfaction, all the aspect, right? And working culture will be improved, that we work from home remotely, provisional developments of giving this technology and connectivity into the rural area as well as the government sector, social sector, public sector, and the media sector, right? So provisional development will be improved. Then it also I cover some of the things like AR and VR, augmented and the virtual reality that can expected to 92 billions, right? And also expected to grow by 20.2 billions by 2025. So that's a huge market, and using the 5G we can help to reach that numbers. He helped to reach that numbers, which is expected. The AR and VR market is expected to reach by 292 billions, by 2025, right? Can you move to the next slide? So it can also help to customize the system the way we want to use the different system, the speed, the latency, and their efficiency and scalability. We can improve that. Then we can use the cutting the cost, headcount cost. So we are building some kind of products called the artificial intelligence chatbot. So we can connect to our chatbot, to the smart device and can connect to any people anywhere in the world, right? So those chatbots are again built on the AI and machine MI and the big data kind of stuff, right? To create that. So we are building some of the very innovative products like chatbot, Fraudify, transaction monitoring, real-time regulatory reporting, real-time trading, those kind of things. We are into LSCG building the new technological platform, and we have very proud that we have a very talented pool of the candidates from the Indian top institutes, IIM, IIT, lot of IISc. They are part of our venture. They are helping us to build those kind of innovative product, as well as some of the IBS also. Okay, so then we can also adaptable office space. So there is in cities like in London, there is a lack of office space, right? So and to expand the business, we need to find out some of the solution that can save the office space and the smart work and all those things. I think they're using the 5G even into the developed country like America and the UK and Europe. We can adapt and create a smart work culture to solve the office space problem, right? If you talk about the transport, right? So we were already talking about the driverless car for the Google, connecting the device, connecting and the driving and managing the not only car, also train, trams, and rails network. If you see into the London, we already always have a problem of the signaling. I think signaling is, so I think they're using the 5G and IoT and other technological access. The signaling system can be improved massively, right? So transport system will be improved, the cost of the living will be decreased, the experience of the life will be improved, right? So those kind of technological aspect can be change to the business, right? So that can be massively improve the way a business is looking for. Can you go to the next slide, please? Right. So, the next slide, I think so is not scattered, right? So the venture profitability for the 5G and technological, we can use the technology in the various all the aspect, right? In the financial services like open banking, open finance, real time payment, as I also mentioned, the B2B, B2C, and the P2P payment, that will be really improved. And also we can improve the security aspect, the products we are building of the Fraudify, fraud detections, transaction monitoring, banking chatbot, using the AI, machine learning, and the big data, as well as we interconnect to the IoT devices, right? It will have a massive advantage in the healthcare system, that checking the doctor patients, or we can be sometime we can do the operations remotely, doctor can do, and patients information, everything. So it will really, and then we can get more of the sophisticated data like COVID data to do more research, to bring the market the vaccines quite fastly and innovatively. Those kind of things can can be also used in the not only business but also in the research and predicting the future pandemic situations, right? And it also, as I mentioned, that it also help into not only finance and healthcare but also in the retail sector and the transformations also, transport sector also. The retail sector, we can get the grocery and the stuffs in online basis, in on demand basis, quickly and securely using the technological element, also adding the security like behavioral biometrics, face recognition, real time checking, all those kind of aspect we can add, and enhance our retail e-commerce business also. A lot of e-commerce businesses collapse because of the security virus hacking and all the aspect. So using the technology and using the data and predicting those kind of risks, behavior, financial risks and to security risks into real-time detection and prevention mechanism using the smart device as well as the 5G network will definitely help the retail sector, which is expected to grow. And again, I already mentioned the transport sector, right? Smart car, driverless car, controlling the signal system, more robust signaling system, and that can also help massively to the transport system, as well as there will be a lot of other opportunity into manufacturing, so we can scale the industry, produce more, and predict that manufacturing demand, supply chain demand, real-time basis, and that can help the business to take a decision quick and faster. Can you move to the next slide? Right. So, in summary, right? So, in summary, right? So life with the technology is quite difficult in digital world, right? So after the web revolutions, the speed of development has the skyrocketed. In the post-COVID area, digitalizations and multiple partnership will surely help the future, technological aspect as well as the financial aspect, like, making more reliable of the open banking, reliable of the open finance, right? Number of payment, real-time ghost settlement, real-time SME blending, all those aspects can be definitely used and help, right? I think there is a huge potential in the finance, tech industry, fintech industry, as well as the rest tech industry to speed up, improve the customer experience, reducing the cost, improve the security, improve the compliance issues, right? All the aspect, and then available of data in the real time, available of the fund real time, even the regulator can access the regulatory report into the real time to take a decision faster and quickly, so all the aspect, and again, right, I am not too master in IoT and IoT and 5G, and we are quite good in fintech, rest tech, right? And I have a limited knowledge, but whatever I have knowledge about the IoT and 5G that can change our banking industry, I have an opportunity to share with you. Again, apologies or if you have not missed and not able to meet certain great expectations. Right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Right. So I'll be happy to take some of the questions if you have. And
right. Thank you, Mr. Debashish Chakravarti, sir. Right. Thank you for those valuable insights. Primarily the the opportunities and growth that this intelligent connectivity can provide, and how the different use cases, the opportunity, especially in the context of fintech and the others, can be realized. Right. Now I would invite Mr. Prabhat Tiwari, sir, for a discussion on some of the other relevant applications and concepts of intelligent connectivity, sir. So we'll discuss and debate some of the other aspects pertaining to this intelligent connectivity. Now, one of the important aspects that this points out is that we have some technologies that work in tandem. For example, what even Vivek Sharma sir had earlier provided, that big data goes with artificial intelligence, and you have 5G which goes with IoT, right? And all these two each can come together to form what is referred to as intelligent connectivity. Can these technologies independently provide more value? Second, can you realize their full potential without using the other technology, or do you need to use them to get the synergy out of it? So that's the first question, Sir Prabhat, sir.
Okay. So thank you so much, Ritesh, and been very closely hearing all you guys. So I think first and foremost, you have to understand that when we talk technology, we always talk about flavor of the season. So today, the flavor of the season is big data, AI, IoT, 5G. Maybe 3-4 years ago, it was something else. Maybe it was cloud. It was, RPA. It was about automation and so on. And before that, it was something else and so on. I think to me, I think it's my advice is that we know for sure that these are things which are changing the entire landscape of the business. But keep in mind that these are sitting on some fundamental building blocks. And to me, these building blocks have to be understood very well. And building blocks, which may not be as cool as they may sound, are things like the business process engine that sits there. Your entire ability to capture the data, your reporting information, your integrations with various subsystems, and so on. To me, what's most important is how are you really creating the larger technology landscape or the entire technology ecosystem. And today, whether you like it or not, it's highly convoluted in the sense it's all one on top of the other and so on. And so it's very hard to dissect and say this will go well with that or that would go well with that and so on. And technology, in my view, has to be looked at in the context of I would call it a vertical, an industry. When you're talking about technology in the context of, let's assume, energy, it's a very different conversation. When you're talking in the form of fintech, again, it's a different industry discussion. If you're talking in the form of real estate, where I come from these days, it's a very different, application. So to me, I think there are multiple stacks. There's a whole ecosystem, and there is a certain context in which these technologies have to be applied. And whether you like it or not, the reality is big data, artificial intelligence, IoT, and 5G. They are relevant in almost all the industry. Little bit more in some, little bit less in some, but I don't think there's anything different. This is my fundamental view.
Thank you for your views, sir. And adding to that, one of the key issues, the challenges in this, the application of these technologies and technologies working together is one of compatibility. Right. So various companies that make different products, or they have to make sure that these devices are compatible. For example, to make IoT ready, etc. And what it also provides is ample opportunities for data, privacy rights and data security, loopholes to creep in. It also provides, another problem is that the responsibility as to where it would lie, who is at fault, becomes problematic. Right. One example, let's say for autonomous machines or driving cars, the aspect of who is to blame if the car hits somebody, trying to prevent or safeguard the passengers. Now, in similar scenarios, if there's a loophole or there's a disconnectivity, let's say in IoT devices, where some of the data which is supposed to be transmitted, especially in a critical mission kind of application, who is to blame? Is it the cloud services provider? Is it the people who are providing the infrastructure? And it could be, incompatibility at both ends. So if there are two devices which are incompatible or not, then they do not, respect each other or communicate well. Where does the responsibility lie? And how can consumers be, secure that my data is secure or my privacy is not hampered? So these are some genuine concerns that these culmination or collaboration of technologies come together. But sir.
Yeah. So the way I would look at this is, I think you're asking a much deeper and a much broader and a much larger question, right? And I don't think all of us would have answers to it. I wish I had answers, but at least I'll tell you my the way I look at this. I think first and foremost, it is important to understand that a lot of these are going through evolution, and it's okay to apply certain use cases or to apply technology in a certain use case and not apply a certain technology in certain use cases, because it will go through a certain evolution. I mean, for example, let's say we're talking about robotics, right? If a robot basically is managing your chatbot, it's not a very complicated thing, right? I mean, it all depends on how are you, tutoring your robot, in the sense through all your programs, etc., and the robot based on that responds to it. Now, some mistakes here and there, it's okay. But what if you are dealing with, let's say, in a medical setup? How comfortable would you be, if a robot is, sitting and giving you some critical recommendation? So I think it is very important to understand the application of technology in certain use cases and certain scenarios. That's the first point. The second point, I think a lot of stuff is still not tested. It is going through the process. There are some places where things are much smoother, especially in certain industries. For example, let's say when you're doing a payment transaction, when you're doing a banking transaction, a lot of it is, there are security protocols, etc., that needs to be followed. They're all in place. There are mistakes that have happened in the past and so on. But then there are industries like, for example, autonomous cars that you're talking about. I mean, it's not proof that it is going to work very smoothly. There are going to be technology challenges. Or let's assume if you're talking about IoT in the context of, let's say, heating HVAC systems, and let's assume for a minute that there's a sensor and some sensor goes wrong and the heating keeps continuing in the building. There's a fire in the building, right? So to me, I think a lot of it is going to go through its own evolution. And what is more important, which I would strongly urge, is you cannot look at technology in isolation. It's not a 5G or a IoT or a big data. I don't think that is a right way to look at it. It's all about how are you putting together all these things together, creating the larger ecosystem, and then applying it in a certain vertical context or an industry context. To me, I think that is far, far more important than just looking at this in isolation. And there's a lot of questions that needs to be answered, in terms of data security, in terms of, data theft that could happen. It's in terms of sensors going wrong, in terms of incompatibility. Today, there's a certain technology, let's say, we talk about iOS devices, we talk about Android devices. Tomorrow, there could be something else. So when you're putting together your technology vision for an organization or for a product, I think, you now need to take a much longer, maybe 5-year, 10-year view and put things together so that that tomorrow there's something new that comes up. The system still will, hold valid, and do not just go out of whack because of those things.
Thank you, sir, for your views. And the next question I'll open to all panelists and invite their responses to that. Now, one important question that people talk about whenever they talk about any new technology is, how does it help inclusive growth? Now, India is 70% in the villages, and people always talk about that they need basic necessities first. But when we see the telecom transformation, especially with the advent of 4G, etc., it has transformed the lives of even rural India. But how can we say the same thing about 5G and other these technologies coming together? So one, is India ready to take the benefits of this intelligent connectivity? Two, do we have the infrastructure for the same? Three, would rural India, as the parts of India which is not necessarily that developed, or can they benefit from the same? So do we need to focus on that first, build that infrastructure, or how we can deploy 5G and related technologies directly and add and create value directly as of with whatever we have today. It's open to all the panelists. Please feel free to just join in.
Can I start with? Yeah. Can I start with? I think it's really good question, right? I think coming to India, right, is really is a developing country, and our Prime Minister has taken a huge steps, right? He's doing the really great job. To make a new digital, India as a digital, and is improving all those things. But if you see in the reality, right, so if you see the 4G and other things, is still not ready. If you see in the India 4G or in the advanced countries 4G, right, or 3G, it's not the same, the speed, the connectivity, and the response and other things, right? So even 5G is coming into the India, and considering the COVID situation, which is impacting the work for setting up all those things, I think the real benefit will not come in a year or two. So if you think that things will suddenly change in the 5G, I think it's not the right expectation to set up. It will at least take 5 years to get certain kind of reality that is been into 5G, right? When maybe 7G will come, then probably we can see the 5G reality in there, right? It's not like today 5G coming and we'll think that expectation. The biggest problem, some of the other country, right, not need to mention, but their expectation is very high, but they don't realize the current situation, where exactly this country, where exactly it's not a UK, right? A couple of 100 million population is a huge population in India, huge in the large scale of the city, a high number of the villages, right, is urban and rural areas. It's not like in UK and other advanced countries, right, where the urbans are also developed like cities, but it's highly impossible right now in India. Still the government is doing a lot, but it will take time, right? So those kind of enhancement and then setting up the right infrastructure, I think it will take another 5 years to realize that the 5G is really working. But considering the major cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, all those aspects, I think it could still possible in next 1 year or 2 years time to become the smart city and utilizing the 5G to growth and all the things use case we are thinking about, that robot or delivering stuff using Amazon's smart devices and also robots. So those kind of things we could expect in India. So big cities in sooner, but rural area is still will take time to build the infrastructure, and also educate the people in the right state of mind, and giving them the right devices to use. Tell me how many people have access of the smart device? Only hardly 10% of Indian population will be having access of smart device, and probably 5 to 6% will be having the access of the real-time data, 5G, 4G, and all those aspects, right? They have a limited data, and then it's very expensive. Because I think there will be a lot of support that government also has to do, that free internet, free Wi-Fi, all those things need to be doing.
The government has to play its role. Right, Prabhat sir,
hugely, right? A lot of investment required. I think the Indian talents had not been selling in the properly. The money need to be gone. The investment should come, right? And we're still talking about very low, cheap quality of commercial model in India, right? That needs to be changed.
Thank you for your views. Yeah, thank you, sir. So I now invite Prabhat sir for his views.
Yeah. So I think I would look at it slightly differently. I would break this into urban and rural, right? And at this point, I agree with whatever Debashish said about the rural part, because there's still a lot going on. But I think let's dissect urban a little bit and understand what urban is. Today, if you look at it, maybe when I was growing up, it was all about being in the big cities, For you to be successful, you had to be in one of those big cities. Now, big cities were the 4 metros. Slowly, there were cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune getting added to that list, the top 7, 8 cities. But what I think technology has done to a very large extent is it has made it a level playing field. So today, whether you're in a tier 1 city, whether you're in a tier 2 city, you're in a tier 3 city, or even a tier 4 city, it's, you still have access to the same digital infrastructure. In fact, sometimes it's very funny. I notice that when you go to a tier 3 place, your 4G network sometimes is better than what it is in probably places like Bangalore, right? Because it's too congested. So the reality today is it's a level playing field. Now, what does this mean? It means that if I am a student from a tier, let's say from a Hyderabad, or let's say I'm from Vizag. Vizag is a place where I grew up, so I have a lot of good memories. Or let's say I'm in a smaller place, maybe Bhimavaram, let's take an example, right? It really doesn't matter now, as long as I'm hardworking, I'm smart, I'm committed, etc. And today, just to give you a sense, we have a lady in our startup. She works out of a tier 4 town. So she said, I'm going there, I'm going to work from there for 4 months. And she's able to seamlessly log into Zoom meetings. She's seamlessly able to update on WhatsApp. She's able to log into all our platforms. So, you really can't tell whether she's working from home in Bangalore or she's working from a tier 4 place. My wife, she runs a startup, and she's got her digital marketing team based out of Bhubaneswar. And they're one of the most committed people. So somewhere what I'm beginning to see is that, things are beginning to change to a large extent, and it's becoming a level playing field, right? And so that is one. So it means from an employment, opportunities are much higher. Now, if there is somebody who's smart in a tier 3 place or a tier 4 place and is capable of driving an idea, implementing an idea, I think nothing stops the person. So to a very large extent, I think the urban divide is beginning to come down. Rural will take quite some time because the issue is not connectivity. I think the issue is more fundamental. So if you go one level below 5G or 4G, it is water, it's electricity, it's roads, and those things are not sorted out. Until government does not play its role in getting some of those things in place, it's very, very difficult. So I feel that, it's a mixed bag as opposed to, a very straightforward answer. But look at it like this. I mean, in fact, my last job, I used to travel a lot to UK. And what I've noticed today is that whether you have people sitting in London, whether you have people sitting in Bangalore, whether you have people sitting in some of the smaller places or the US, I mean, technically, it's become a flat world, right? As long as you have the right idea, as long as you have the right commitment, you have access to everything. So I think what technology is now beginning to do is just creating a level playing field, and it's bringing more and more things to home. You can access the same Google Cloud, the Amazon Cloud. You can access any of the SaaS-based software, right? I mean, if I'm using, let's say, Salesforce, nothing stops me from accessing Salesforce from a tier 4 place. So somewhere I think everything is now coming down, to people's homes, and it's becoming a level playing field. Amazon is everywhere. You name it. So I think it's becoming a level playing field, and that's where I think the question is how well we are able to take full advantage of the level playing field.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. So one last question, and a question which is posted by one of the students. Related question. So do you think India have the technological capability to make border surveillance systems like that of Israeli automated border systems? So can India actually use this intelligent connectivity to have something known as border surveillance systems? Is it possible for India to have that?
I think Debashish, you probably may want to answer that. You spoke about it also here.
Yeah, I think you definitely right. I believe that India has the capability and can do that, right? And we are already using those kind of things. How we are giving the real-time response to the neighboring countries, right? We try to, distract the Indians' security, and as we are giving that, right? And I think India has a huge capability, and the defense security is one of the top intelligence, and they have capability, and they're doing that, and they're also getting a lot of support from America as well as the Russia and France, right, and also UK supporting them, and most of the defense enabled country like Sweden, one of the best country which is used for the surveillance and other things. They are also helping India. I think India can definitely do that, and wherever if not possible into the education system or real-time data and all those things. But I definitely believe that in the defense it will be done as soon as other countries are doing that. So India is very focused to implement, and given high priority. Mr. Our Honorable Prime Minister also doing a lot of efforts. So I believe it's possible and it will be done, and India will not take any steps to not implement is in a year time. So it's very much, I'm very confident that India can do that, and it's possible.
That's great, sir. That's great to know. And with that, we come to the end of this interesting panel discussion. And I thank all the panelists, right? And there's a saying in the field of technology known as, Amara's law, given by Raw Amara. And they say that, and what it says is that technology is always overestimated in its impact on the short term, and it's underestimated based on its impact over the long term. So we just hope that we have, taken cognizance of that, and we hope that this intelligent connectivity, at least over the long run, does impact immensely. Right. So with that, we end this session. I thank all the panel members, right, and Maçon Entrepreneurship Cell, for having this session for the benefit of all the students. Thank you so much, and we bid you good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, all panelists. Yeah, thank you for a wonderful session. Now, before we close this event, we would like to invite Dr. Anita Acharya to share a few words. Ma'am? Dr. Anita Acharya.
Ma'am is in mute, so if you can.
Ma'am, you're on mute. Anita, ma'am, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I would like to thank all the panelists for joining us today. We had a very healthy discussion, and a lot of you shared your viewpoints as to exactly what is the Internet of Things, as well as how 5G is going to change a lot of things. So I would like to thank all the panelists for joining us and making this session very interactive as well as enlightening. Thank you once again. Thank you, Maçonites, for organizing such a wonderful panel discussion. I would also like to thank all the participants as well as Professor Ritesh for acting as a moderator. So thank you, everybody, and good day.
Thank you, ma'am. As all good things come to an end, so should this day. However, do not fret, for tomorrow we have plans of engaging you with the stories of successful entrepreneurs narrated by themselves at our startup meet. So now, on behalf of Maçon, we are privileged to have you all here, and we thank our esteemed guests for taking some time out of their busy schedules and gracing us with their presence. I'm sure everyone over here has found something insightful that they will utilize in their own entrepreneurial journeys.
We would also like to thank our faculty members and dignitaries for giving us this opportunity and for supporting us throughout. We would also like to thank our promotion partner, IBS Messenger, and Newswire, our media partner.
We would like to thank our sponsors. Title sponsor, Learning by Traveling. Co-sponsor, Bison, Movogen, Obionics, and co-living partner, Tikana. We thank the management for providing us with this platform to learn more about entrepreneurial skills and how to use them. And last but never the least, our audience and participants without whom all this would not be possible. Thank you, everyone.
So with this note, Pratika and I sign off for today, but we are looking forward for seeing you all tomorrow in our next event of EV 2020. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and see you tomorrow.